What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Touchdown with Doug Smith. As you can see here right next to me, I have an NFL legend on the show with us here today. He played in 3 decades in the NFL, long 12, 13-year NFL career, played on multiple teams. He's a legend for the Houston Oilers, absolute amazing NFL career. This guy was in the nightmares of NFL quarterbacks. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome NFL legend Cris Dishman. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, Doug. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. It's absolute pleasure for me to be in front of you here today, and thank you so much. I want to ask you, you had this amazing career at multiple NFL teams, from the Redskins. You were in the Oilers, the longest, Kansas City Chiefs, and so forth, Vikings. You got to play players like Steve McNair his rookie year, Warren, the legendary Hall of Fame Warren Moon, and so forth. What has the journey been like for you?
It's been a terrific journey. God put you in certain places for certain reasons. And I was just so blessed to play with such Hall of Famers like a Warren Moon, Bruce Matthews, Dean Steinkuhler, Munchak, Mike Munchak.
Wow.
Had some great running backs in Mike Rozier, Alonzo Highsmith, Lorenzo Wright, um, you know, um, Mike Rozier, such good receivers as Haywood Jeffries, you know, Ernest Givens, Curtis Duncan, Tony Jones. I can go on and about our receivers and stuff. We just had a tremendous good team there with the Houston Oilers, and our D line with Doug Smith and Ray Childress and William Fuller, and our linebackers with Al Smith, and with our DBs, Richard Johnson was over there, and I think that's who made me step my game up, because the year before he made Pro Bowl when I started starting. So I had to step my game up because the balls was exactly was going to come my way. Then after Richard left, we had Darrell Lewis and Steve Jackson there, and Marcus Robinson and stuff like that. So I was fortunate enough to play with some great players. And once I left Houston, I played with the GOAT of all GOATs, Darrell Green. When you on the other side of Darrell Green, you better pick your game up, because not too many coordinators and quarterbacks going to test Darrell Green. So we had an amazing year. My first year there, Darrell and I both went to the Pro Bowl and made All Pro, and it was exciting times there in Washington D.C. Playing with the Washington team. So I said it's and then going to Kansas City, had some good players there with Derek Thomas and those guys, and then going to Minnesota with Randy Moss and Cole Pepper and the offensive line, and John Randall. I was just, like I said, I've been blessed. God has put me in different teams to have some amazing players around me. So I've just been very blessed on that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you mentioned some of those names, and I've been watching football since around 96, 97. I'm 33 years old, and I remember hearing your name on television and watching you as a young kid growing up. So it's just amazing for you to tell me these stories, and I'm just excited. And when you say Randy Moss, Randy Moss, in my humble opinion, he's top 3 greatest wide receiver of all time. Obviously, y'all were teammates. I know you've probably been asked this question tons of times, so I hate to ask again, but what was it like guarding him? And then what's a Randy Moss story that maybe not too many people know about?
Randy will definitely get you better as a defensive back, because he's very good at the line with his hands. Mm-hmm. And once he get away from you, he have great speed downfield. Mm-hmm. And and he got hand-eye coordination as far as catching the ball. He can catch that over the shoulder catch better than any other receiver that I've known, because he can go and wait to the last minute to put his hands up to catch the football. Well, playing defensive back, when you're in a certain position, you wait for the receivers to hands goes up, then you try to knock the ball away. But Randy used to always wait at the last minute and put his hands up and let the ball come right down to him. So you could tell he had so much confidence in his hands.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We saw Sunday after Sunday, Monday night after Monday night, him just embarrass receivers night after night after night.
Right.
He was already a Hall of Famer, 6 years in. That kind of head start to a career. Now, I do have a question. Now, my brother and also co-host could not make the show here today, but he is a diehard Washington Redskins / Washington football team fan / we're about to change the name again.
Right.
I'm going to play a quick video. He has a question here for you, and then go.
Hello, Mr. Dishman. This is Isaac Davidson here, one of the co-hosts of the Touchdown with Doug Smith podcast. Totally wish I could be there with you guys today. Hope you guys are having a great time. My question for you today is, you have played for the Washington Football Organization before Dan Snyder became the Dan Snyder that we all know and love today. If you can speak to some of your experiences with the fan base at that time, playing for the organization before the media depicted it to be, what they depict it to be these days. What was that like?
Well, that is a great question. Leaving Houston, where the fan base was so football oriented, to go to such a historic team like the Washington Redskins. I have to call them the Washington Redskins because that's who I played for. But to go to such a historic team like the Washington Redskins and their fans, it was really amazing. Every week, it seemed like it was a rival week. You had Philly, Washington and Philly didn't like each other.
Oh,
then you had the Cowboys. Washington and the Cowboys didn't like each other. Every week, and Washington and the Giants didn't like each other. So every week seemed like we had some type of rivalry. I was like, man, you guys have rivalries after rivalries after rivalries that you had to get up for. And the Redskin fan base was great. They used to pack that stadium. They used to come early and stay late. They tailgate and wherever you went into the D.C. area. Well, I stayed in Ashburn, Virginia. Wherever you went, fans will always recognize you, know you, and had nothing positive things to say to you. Even after a loss, fans had positive things. You get them next week. You played good, and the team, give you some type of advice, but wasn't nothing really negative said, at least towards me. In Washington, I thought the fans was very good, and I can say they're very knowledgeable of their football. Washington Redskins have some knowledgeable people of football. They know exactly what they're talking about and stuff like that. So, like I said, that I think Coach Rivera is probably the right choice for that team. He's a solid individual, a solid coach, and he's going to get that team back on track.
Absolutely. And being that we're on the topic, I have to ask you, any name preferences? What do you think?
No, not really. I haven't been following it that much, but like I said, anything is going to be better than the Washington team. So yeah. I don't know what name they will have or give, but I think it will be better than the Washington team.
I hear you. You got to finally get a logo on there, but right. What did it say? February 1st, February 2nd it comes out? Somewhere around that time?
I think so. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, whenever it does, it will be great. Now, obviously, we had the playoffs just happen this past weekend. Wow. You played for technically two of the teams. Obviously, they become, Oilers become the Titans, and then of course you played for the Kansas City Chiefs. Holy cow! How's your blood pressure? How's your heart? I mean, what were your thoughts on this past weekend?
That Kansas City game is probably Kansas City Buffalo game is probably one of the best games. I know everyone has been saying it, but that'd have to be one of the best games I saw in my life because they really, those two quarterbacks, not just the quarterbacks, everyone always picked out the quarterbacks. That whole offense, defense, both teams, you felt bad for one team for losing, because everyone played great. Everyone played good. Unfortunate towards the end, one of the DBs gave up a long pass to get them down there in field goal range, in order to win the game. So it was unfortunate, but that game right there was amazing. The back and forth, Mahomes having 13 seconds to go down there to tie the game up. It was just a great game to watch. As a fan in the stands, I think I'll still be sitting there at the game. It's one of those games you don't want to leave. When the broadcast went off, I was like, God, I need more of that. It was one of those games you did not want to leave.
Absolutely. Mr. Dishman, I don't think Hollywood could have told a better story than that.
Right.
You watch these movies like 3, 2, 1, boom, stereotypically, okay, the final seconds, score touchdown, Hail Mary. This was on a whole other level. I mean, there was 13 seconds on the clock, and Mahomes, man, he just marched down the field. I mean, that was amazing. I smiled just talking about it, and I'm not even technically a fan of those teams, but happy that they both had a great season, and Bills will be back with vengeance next year for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Absolutely. Now you got to play with, and God rest his precious soul, the late Steve McNair. You were on the same team as him his rookie year. What was it like to be on the team with a young Steve McNair?
Well, Steve was a rookie, but he was so mature as a rookie. You know, he didn't come in with the wide eyes and didn't know what to do. He came in with a presence and with a leadership role that, hey, I know I'm young, I know I'm a rookie, but I'm the starting quarterback. You know, he came in, he knew exactly what he wanted to do and where he wanted to go. So that's why it was so easy as a veteran to welcome Steve to the show, because he wasn't a rookie. I know he was a rookie, but he didn't have the rookie mindset. You know, he was very mature. He was very knowledgeable of what he wanted to do. He's very knowledgeable of offense. And, you know, he was just a great leader.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he came right out of Alcorn State, and you would have thought he went to USC. I mean, he came with vengeance and eventually, you know, took y'all to a Super Bowl in the, I believe it was the early 2000s, I believe it was. But he was nothing short of fantastic. And then, of course, you know, we were talking recently about, you know, you've had this amazing career. What would you say the top three toughest quarterbacks that you've played against? And for you, it's very unique because you played in 3 different decades of football, right? I mean, Elway was there, Marino was there, all these different names. What were the top 3 toughest QBs you played against?
Well, first of all, the one in practice, Warren Moon. I face, you know,
Yeah.
So we got to start with practice first, you know, practice. So we're going to start with that with Warren Moon. Then I'm going to move to Dan Marino, who was a very good player. Yeah. And then from Dan Marino, I got to say John Elway. But also I can't leave out Troy Aikman. So it's like his top 3 is not, I need more than 3 because you can
add more in if you want.
Yeah, you got John Elway, you got Troy Aikman. You know, so I was able to face a lot of good quarterbacks at that time. You know, as far as every week or every other week, you couldn't be no slouch because they would find you. You know, Boomer Esiason, I was able to play a couple of years with against him there at the Bengals. So every week you had a guy that you had to play, get up for, and be able to try to beat.
Absolutely, absolutely. And do you have any like favorite because you have 43 of them, favorite interceptions or top 3, top 5, or however many? What were some of your favorite? I actually will just say all in all, what were your favorite defensive plays?
Well, unfortunately, I can't remember all my interceptions. I guess my favorite one has to be the first one. I don't know exactly when was the first one, but I think it would have to be the first one. But as I stop and recollect, I think it was versus Philly. I think it was my first interception. I'm not really sure on that. I have to go back in the books and look at it. But I guess your first one is always your best one, and then from there on, you know.
And then that first ever NFL game that you played, what were your thoughts? I mean, for many, it's a childhood dream. What were your thoughts walking off the field?
Well, I was very nervous going onto the field.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, I'm actually going to play an NFL game. You know, the preseason games you walk on, you know, you're a little nervous, but once the preseason over and all the veterans tell you, hey, rookie, this is for real. So we don't need you to be screwing up nothing. You know, you have grown men talking about, hey, this is for real. We don't need you to screw up nothing. That's how I feed my family. Put a little bit more pressure on you. So walking on to my first game as a regular season was very scary. You know, I knew I played a lot of special teams. I played nickel. I was a third down corner coming in. You know, I wasn't starting out like that. So, but I still had a role have a major role of impacting the game. And that's what I love about special teams, because for the first 2 years, you know, I was a very good special teams player. I was a gunner, the jammer, ran down on kickoff return, you know, stuff like that. So it was a great experience. And also I had the privilege to have my mom and dad also at my game. So it was very exciting.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that being said, what ultimately you had this amazing career, and then even after football, I mean, you were a coach in the CFL, you were a coach, you know, overseas, you were XFL, the NFL at Baylor. I mean, what ultimately motivates you?
One reason is several reasons. my family, God, and been able to help others to get where they want to go. Be able to help the young DBs that I'm coaching now to be able to get off to college. When I had a college gig, be able to get the DBs who want to go to the pros. Be able to help those guys. Or when I coach pro, be able to help those guys get to where they want to go, is Pro Bowl, All Pro, and stuff like that. So that's one of my greatest things I think I've done is over my 17 year of coaching, I was able to help others to get to where their goal, and don't make it my goal, but help them to get to their goal.
Yeah.
Sometimes coaches were overshadowed, but not looking at the individual goal of the person that want to be there, and not just try to be your goal. And that's what I think I still keep in contact with a lot of my players. They still call me today because they know I didn't have a hidden motive. Yeah. Their goal was my goal. If you want to go Pro Bowl, I'm going to try to do everything in the power to make you go Pro Bowl. If you're in high school, you want to get a Power 5, I'm going to do everything in my power to get you a Power 5. If you're in college, you want to go to pros, I'm going to do everything in myself to get you to the pros. As you alluded, I've coached in every F team, XFL, NFL, CFL, US. Now I am NFL Europe was my first gig over there. So I've coached in that. So all the FLs I have coached in. And like I said, I just wanted to help. My job on earth is to leave something behind for my children, for my family, and for the guys that I coach who has now become my off-brand children to help them get to where they want to go to.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, it's the world will be a much better place if there are more Cris Dishmans in there, more stand-up men like you, and just being out there. You're out there doing God's work. In other words, So thank you for all you do, Mr. Dishman. And before we exit here today, any shout outs?
No, it's just like like I said, I have several things that I'm doing right now. I'm working with youthministry.org.
Wow.
It's Suit Up. Then I got changeournumbers.org, and I got my goskills.com I have out there that I'm involved in now. And you'll say, if you want to follow me on any social media sites, just go to chrisdishman.com. Do not put an H in it. If you put CRS in it, dishman.com, you will find me. If you put an H, I don't think you will find me. But those are my social media sites out there. And like I said, it's just the sports. We can use it in so many different ways. Yeah. Sports bring a lot of people together. No matter what your race, or no matter what, if you believe in God or don't believe in God, what your religion, sports bring that person together. For those 2.5 hours or 2 hours of the game, the side by side of cheering for one thing is your team to win. So if sports can bring you happiness in that 2.5 hours, why can't us as individuals be happy with each other or bring satisfaction to each other without sports? Why can't we take the sports mentality of listen to your neighbor and hear what they have to say, and not just look at your neighbor, because everyone has something they're going through. But sometimes we have to sit down and actually listen to people and not just look at them.
Amen. 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 And folks, if you want to take and get involved in Chris's ministry, want to follow him on social media, all that information is down below. And as my man just took and said right here, we all need to have more compassion. You mentioned you're a man of God, Book of Galatians, one of my favorite Bible scriptures, bear your brother's burden, for this is the law of Christ.
Right. Exactly.
More we understand each other, the more we talk to one another, not only a lot of healing could happen, but, the world would be a much more better place.
Right. And have patience.
Yes, absolutely. Patience is important. Patience. Yeah. Patience helps understanding too.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Dishman, thank you so much for coming on the show. I cannot thank you enough. This is beyond one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. And thank you so much again.
Well, thank you for having me. Probably catch you at a later date.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Mr. Dishman, have a great night. And for all those who watch this episode, go down below. All his information will be down below in the final episode on YouTube. Have a blessed night. Take care.
All right, have a great one. Thank you.
You too.
Turn 100 for the touchdown. King crown, gain inside, leading your town. Hit you faster than the sound. Bad boy, throw it down. Yeah, I'm ill, not my will. Don't Copperfield, fill the house. Listen to the roaring crowd. Drop a light, calm it down. Heisman, all the haters mouth. Superhero hit them wow. Packing more action than bing, boom, bam, pow. Touchdown for the win. We live, subscribe right now.